Welcome to today's discussion. In August 2024, Bangladesh stood at the crossroads of history. The fall of the deeply entrenched regime and the rise of an interim government led by Nobel laureate Dr. Muhammad Yunus ignited hopes of a new beginning, an era of transparency, democracy, and accountability. But 8 months into this transitional phase, troubling signs have emerged: corruption scandals, political confusion, and a growing public of disillusionment. Today, we dive deep into the unfolding political crisis, exploring whether Bangladesh's dream of reform is turning into another painful illusion. As I said in the beginning, in August 2024, Bangladesh witnessed a historic moment following a massive student led uprising against Sheikh Hasina's prolonged and increasingly autocratic rule. An interim government led by Professor Muhammad Yunus was installed. This transition was hailed with widespread public hope. A new Bangladesh would emerge, free from corruption, political repression, and dynastic control. Citizens dreamed of a democratic rebirth, a transparent governance structure, and a future anchored in accountability and the rule of law. However, less than a year into the interim government's tenure, cracks have begun to appear. Corruption scandals, political missteps, and the sudden proliferation of new, often dubious political parties are undermining the spirit of reform. This analysis exposes the sources of corruption allegations within the interim government, the collapse of the student revolution's expectations, the chaotic rise of new political parties and forces, and the uncertain future that looms over Bangladesh's fragile democracy. Let's look into the corruption. There are many allegations. Is this a shattered illusion? In April 2025, two personal aides to key advisors of the interim government were removed amidst serious corruption allegations. The individuals are Muazzam Hussain, personal assistant APS to the local government advisor, and Muhammad Tuhin Farabi, personal officer PO to the health advisor. Both were prominent activists during the student movement that led to the regime change. They had symbolized the spirit of reform and anti corruption when appointed to government roles. Yet the allegations are damning: accepting financial benefits for approving projects, engaging in transfer posting trade within ministries, using political connections for personal enrichment. Most disturbingly, Muazzam Hussain is accused of being involved in a multi-million dollar tender manipulation schemes, while Tuhin Farabi allegedly leveraged his background as a quota reform activist to gain unfair administrative advantages. This is more than just personal misconduct. It represents a fundamental betrayal of the very ideals that propelled the student movement. Government's confused response: the Ministry of Public Administration initially issued a notice terminating Muazzam Hussein's appointment. Yet, strangely, within hours, the order was withdrawn, replaced by claims that he had voluntarily resigned. This inconsistent response raised serious questions. Was the government trying to shield him? Why was there no immediate announcement of a formal investigation? How could someone accused of corruption simply walk away without accountability? These events suggest a dangerous political hesitation. The interim government seeks to portray itself as committed to reform but seems reluctant to confront corruption head on within its own ranks. So people are thinking, is student-led revolution lost its ideals? The appointment of activists into government position was initially seen as a revolution within a revolution. However, further revelations deepened public disillusionment. In the Railway Ministry, these activists from the anti-discrimination student movement were accused of involvement in black market train tickets sales and manipulating internal postings for profit. The National Curriculum and Textbook Board (NCTB), Ghazi Salahuddin Tanvir, a joint secretary of the newly formed National Citizens Party (NCP), was implicated textbook printing commission scandals and was temporarily suspended from party responsibilities. The very youth who demanded change are now accused of replicating the corrupt practices they once fought against. Thus arises a bitter question: have those who fought for reform become victims of the very system they sought to dismantle? Do you think anti-corruption commission failed? Uh, is there any crisis of credibility? The situation worsened when Abdul Momen, chairman of Bangladesh Anti-Corruption Commission (SCC), publicly declared that the interim government is corruption-free. The premature exoneration without any thorough investigation deepened suspicion among civil society groups. Experts argue corrupt it emboldens corrupt actors within the government, undermines faith in oversight institutions, and weakens the broader principle of the rule of law. Bangladesh has long struggled with institutional corruption. During Sheikh Hasina's tenure, a nexus of politicians, bureaucrats, and business elites formed an entrenched system of often described as a state capture model. The interim government had the historic opportunity to uproot this system. Yet, if institutions like the SEC are unable to act impartially, history may simply repeat itself under a new banner. Now we see there are many political party proliferation. Is this a new danger? Since the fall of the Awami League government, more than 26 new political parties and platforms have emerged within just 8 months. Notable among them, National Citizens Party (NCP), New Bangladesh Popular Party, Bangladesh Sovereign Movement, United People's Bangladesh, Janata Party, among others. Political analysts warn that Bangladesh is witnessing a repeat of earlier pattern, particularly reminiscent of the Ershad era 1980s, where elections were made competitive by engineering the emergence of numerous weak state-sponsored parties. Many of the new groups are formed around personal ambitions rather than the clear political ideologies, lacking nationwide organizational structures, suspected of seeking financial gain, influence, trading, or election disruption rather than genuine representation. An alarming example: MD Rafiqul Amin, the former chairman of Destiny Group, implicated in a 700 million US dollar Ponzi scheme, launched the Janata Party just months after his release from prison. Such developments signal a dangerous dilution of Bangladesh's democratic landscape, potentially leading to further border confusion and weakening the prospects of meaningful electoral competition. There is another significant development with a political party named Jamaat Islami. In a surprising move, Jamaat Islami, historically linked with anti-liberation forces and accused of war crimes during Bangladesh's 1971 independence struggle, has launched outreach efforts toward religious minorities. At a friendship rally held in April 2025, Jamaat's Amir Shafiqur Rahman invited Hindus, Buddhists, and Christians to participate in election under the Jamaat banner. Please to protect minority rights if Jamaat return to power. denounced all forms of uh, social discrimination based on religion or caste. While this appears to be a dramatic repositioning, skeptics argue Jamaat has offered no formal apology for its past actions. Its core ideology remains steeped in religious conservatism and Islamist politics. This outreach is likely tactical, an attempt to shed its toxic legacy for electoral gains. Minority groups remain understandably wary. Historical experiences cannot be so easily erased with rhetoric alone. Now let's talk about a democratic transition. Is there any alternative to election? Leading political thinkers have repeatedly emphasized the interim government must hold free, fair, and inclusive elections by December 2025. Prolonging an unelected government increases the risk of political instability, economic uncertainty, and international isolation. Only an elected government can exercise the legitimate authority needed to address Bangladesh's deep rooted problems. Global partners, including the United States, the European Union, and regional powers like India and China, are all watching closely. Bangladesh's geopolitical importance has grown significantly given its strategic position between South and Southeast Asia. Delays or manipulation in the democratic transition could trigger not just domestic unrest, but also affect vital foreign relations and economic investments. Bangladesh today stands at a historic crossroads. The interim government, born of revolution or mass upsurge, now faces its greatest test. Can it resist the temptations of power? Can it hold itself accountable to the ideals of the student movement? Can it deliver the fair elections that Bangladesh people fought for? If not, the sacrifices made in 2024 will have been in vain, and Bangladesh risks descending into another cycle of authoritarianism and systemic corruption, perhaps under new faces, but with the same rotten structures. However, the opportunity remains by rigorously investigating corruption allegations, by ensuring institutional neutrality, by enabling genuine political competition, by empowering citizens through credible elections. Bangladesh can still fulfill the promises of the second liberation struggle. The people of Bangladesh demonstrated time and again that they will not surrender their dreams. Governments may fall, leaders may falter, but the spirit of a free, democratic Bangladesh, rooted in the blood and sacrifices of its people, remains indomitable. History watches closely. The choice now belongs to those in power. As we conclude today's analysis, one truth stands clear. The journey toward genuine democracy is never easy. Bangladesh's future depends not only on leadership but on the vigilance of its citizens, the resilience of its institutions, and the courage to hold power to account. The stakes are high. If the interim government fails to deliver on its promises, the dream of a corruption free democratic Bangladesh may once again slip away. But hope endures. The spirit that led to the uprising of 2024 still burns brightly, and it is the spirit that must guide Bangladesh into its next chapter. Thank you for listening. Stay engaged, stay informed, and most importantly, stay hopeful.